and welcome to the Bureau Podcast. I'm Matt Cowan, the Bureau Chief and your host. Thank you for listening in. Coming up in this episode, I've got some news and an interview with American designer Bill Bensley, who's designed over 200 resorts and hotels in more than 30 countries, including 5 here in Vietnam. And then the Bureau's content manager Melanie Kasul swings by to tell us how her week's been in Vietnam's best city. So stick around for that and more. Let's get into it. Bureau News. The central Vietnam province of Nha An has reported that 7 people died and more than 17,400 houses were flooded due to Typhoon Noru last Wednesday. According to VN Express, the Nha An Natural Disaster Prevention Committee said Friday that the people were either swept away while crossing bridges to escape the waters, or in some cases had lost their lives trying to catch fish during the storm and resulting floodwaters. Water levels reportedly rose almost half a metre at a 1-kilometre section of National Highway 1A, causing danger to traffic. Meanwhile, many districts and towns in Nha An province recorded rainfall between 200 and 600 millimetres over a 2-day period leading up to Typhoon Noru's landfall, with winds reaching up to 133 kilometres per hour in Da Nang and neighbouring Quan Nham province at 1 a.m. in the morning. The storm is believed to be one of the most powerful to have hit Vietnam in the past 2 decades. Indonesian police, as of last Sunday morning, have said 125 people have been killed and 323 injured as a result of a stampede at an Indonesian Premier League football match following crowd violence at the stadium in East Java last Saturday evening, says the Jakarta Post. Brawls between rival supporters of Arema FC and Persebaya Surabaya broke out in the stadium after the game ended, in which Persebaya Surabaya defeated Arema FC 3-2. Supporters of the losing team are reportedly to have invaded the pitch at the end of the game, prompting police to fire tear gas into the crowd, triggering the stampede. It's believed hundreds ran to the exit gate in an effort to avoid the tear gas. However, many either suffocated or were trampled on, killing most in the process. Footage posted on social media shows spectators rushing the field and moments later police brandishing shields and batons pursuing them. The footage also shows police kicking and beating people as they attempted to run from the field. Games in Indonesia's top league have been suspended for the next week as an investigation gets underway. This comes as Indonesia is due to host the FIFA Under-20 World Cup in May and June next year and is one of the 3 countries bidding to stage next year's Asian Cup. This week, Nikkei Asia reported that the World Bank has downgraded its annual growth forecast for Asia Pacific. In its latest economic forecast published last Tuesday, the bank sharply downgraded China's growth to 2.8% from 5% in April, which in turn has slowed the region's forecast expansion to 3.2% for this year, down from a projected 5% growth in April. Vietnam is predicted to lead the region with annual growth of 7.2%, up from 5.3% in the April forecast. According to the chief economist for East Asia and the Pacific, Aditya Matu, the major source of growth in the region at the moment has been the easing of restrictions that countries were obliged to maintain regarding consumption during the pandemic. Most of the region has reopened to travel and loosened pandemic restrictions, although China maintains its zero-COVID policy and imposes sporadic lockdowns in big cities, says the Nikkei Asia article. Meanwhile, travel restrictions have eased in Hong Kong for the first time since the pandemic, with the implementation of what's known as its 0+3 regime that stipulates that visitors monitor themselves for COVID-19 for 3 days at home or at a hotel without compulsory quarantine. They are free to move about during the period of the so-called medical surveillance, but aren't allowed into premises such as restaurants and bars, according to the South China Morning Post. The decision, however, has so far not resulted in an immediate surge in visitors to Hong Kong. Returning Hong Kong residents made up nearly 3/4 of the more than 7,500 arrivals last Tuesday, the second day of the regime, while travellers from the mainland accounted for a fifth. Only 515 visitors were from elsewhere. And that's all the Bureau News for now. Well, there you have it, the Bureau News for this episode. I'm sure, like me on Sunday morning, you woke up to the news of the stampede in Indonesia with utter disbelief. While the death toll hasn't been finalised yet, Saturday night's disaster in Malang in East Java, some 300 to 400 kilometres west of Bali, is considered to be the biggest stadium disaster globally in recent history. I can remember the Hillsborough Stadium disaster in Sheffield in the UK as a youngster, when 96 supporters of Premier League club Liverpool were crushed to death in 1989, when an overcrowded and fenced-in enclosure collapsed. And as far back as 1964, 328 people were killed during an Olympic qualification football match between Peru and Argentina at Estadio Nacional in Lima, when police fired tear gas into the crowd. Not too dissimilar to what has just occurred in Indonesia this past weekend. It's hard to imagine heading off to a football match to enjoy watching your favourite team with family and friends and never returning. As the Jakarta Post has reported, the consequences of the Malang tragedy will be far-reaching. Indonesian President Joko Widodo has already ordered the suspension of the Indonesian Premier League until the investigation into the event has been completed, and the country is in danger of being banned from competing in or hosting any international competitions. From what I've seen and read so far, much of the investigation will centre on why the police force in presence at the match used tear gas to disperse the crowd, particularly as FIFA regulations prohibit the possession and use of firearms and tear gas by police and security when handling crowds inside stadia. For now, our thoughts go out to the friends and families of those caught up in this terrible tragedy. If you feel like you've got something to say about it or about the podcast in general, why not let me know via the short poll and question I've attached to the bottom of this episode on Spotify. As always, I'm eager to hear what you've got to say. Well, recently I was rapt to hear that architect, interior designer and artist Bill Bensley agreed to my request to be interviewed on the podcast. Bill's known globally for his preeminence in hospitality design, having brought to life more than 200 hotels and resorts in over 30 countries since setting up shop in Bangkok way back in 1989, not long after graduating from Harvard University. His latest projects include a camp of sorts in the Cambodian jungle where guests arrive by zipline, to the 15-tent property that Bill himself describes as a utopia of sustainability. Also, there's a 19th century hill station brought back to life in Laos as a 23-room resort and is the first luxury villa and tent resort within the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Luang Prabang. And also there's a Balinese resort with 22 ultra-luxurious tents in the rainforest of Ubud, which was ranked the world's best hotel by Travel and Leisure magazine in 2020. Vietnam is lucky enough to have 5 Bill Bensley designed properties, of which, I'm happy to say, I've stayed at 3, and they're all absolutely stunning in their own unique way. I asked Bill what he's currently working on, the challenges he faced in Vietnam getting his properties completed, and his philosophy when it comes to designing hotels and resorts. Here's what he said. Hi Bill, thank you for appearing on my podcast today. I'm a massive fan of yours and would love to talk to you all day. But you're a very busy man, which I found out this week when I missed an email to tee up a time to chat with you, and I missed my chance. But fortunately for me, we're here. So what's keeping you so busy at the moment?
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you here on your podcast, Matt. What's keeping us busy? Several things. I've got a really, really important conservation project on the cooker in the French Congo.
Okay. All right. That's different.
It is. Yeah, it is different. We're doing 5 different camps, and each camp has only 4 bedrooms each.
Wow.
So it is, we know that there are no other camps in French Congo. So I went there a couple of months ago, and it took me, we chartered a flight, and we got as far as we could. Then we drove for 2 days, and we did not see another car on the road for 2 days.
Okay.
So I saw gorillas crossing the road. This is the honest to God truth. I saw gorillas crossing the road, but not another car. Then we got in a boat for 6 hours, And then I walked over 3 days. The next 3 days, I walked a total of 52 kilometers
Wow.
to get to these sites.
So I take it it's a pretty exclusive resort that you're building.
Yeah, very, very exclusive. Have you ever watched Our Planet with Richard Attenborough?
Yes.
There's one episode called About Jungles, and David Attenborough is standing in a clearing where elephants and gorillas are feeding on salt at the same time, and that's my site.
That's amazing. So how many times have you been over there?
4 times now.
Okay. And when did you say that's opening?
It'll open probably high season of next year.
Right.
Meaning Christmas time.
Okay, that sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that later when it opens. Maybe I'll get a little trip out of it at some stage. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I don't know if I could handle the monkeys.
We are our clientele. We know what our clientele is. They'll be the all FIT, of course, but extremely wealthy philanthropists and art collectors of America, England, France, and Germany, who have been to everywhere else in Africa.
Wow.
And are looking for the final box to tick. So it's a $3,000 per night venture. But the thing that really interests me, Matt, is about the fact that by putting people in a very low impact way, it also increases the ability of conservation.
Right.
And also, like my very similar like to my project in Shintamani Wild, is that if we weren't there with our 15 little tents, then basically the entire forest at Timor-Room, where the tents are, every animal would be eaten by now.
Wow, that's incredible. It almost sort of reminds me of the Intercon Da Nang as well, where it was a sensitive part of Vietnam with the Declanger monkeys there. And I stayed there recently and I walked away sort of having similar thoughts, that the fact that place is there and the one you've designed and bringing people there, actually, it seems like it helps with the conservation of it.
Yes, to much lesser degree than camps with low footprint. That's a little bit more complicated, Matt, in that as it was in its natural state, it was army land. So it was
Right.
The Army never used it, but it was Army land. So it was, and no one could go in there. And then when we started building that, unfortunately, 15 years ago, the Intercontinental, we found that the workmen were actually killing and eating the red-shanked dukes. And so that led to penalties. If you're caught eating, then you go to eating those monkeys, then you go to jail. But it did put some pressure on. But now the numbers are back up to pre-construction. But how to say too? On the first 5 years that we opened, we had this German lady who was in charge of, in a way, the protection of the red-shanked dukes. And she told me that those dukes are dependent upon something like 45 different species of trees and the fruits that they produce. And then if you cut off, and which we did, we cut off their access, because they never go down to the ground. Unlike macaques, they'll go any damn where. But these red-tailed dukes, they only travel on the high branches, and if you cut it off, their access, then they go hungry in a way, and they lack vitamins.
Right. Yes.
So what we did recently is that these monkey ladders, that they're up to the high levels that patch back the areas that we cut them off of in previous years. Interesting, eh?
Oh, really interesting. And when I was at the Intercon, I did have an encounter with a couple of the red-shanked declangers. It was pretty amazing. They came right down near our room, so that was great to see.
Are you sure that wasn't a macaque?
I'm pretty sure the macaque was actually in our room, going through our coffee cabinet. We came home from dinner one night from Maison 1888 and had a great night there, and I opened the door and there was a macaque rifling through the coffee machine and enjoying the milk and coffee. So that was a nice greeting.
How did it get into the room? Through the window?
I think housekeeping left the door out onto the balcony open. I also found out that the bathroom, you know how you've got the doors there that open from the bathroom onto the balcony, they were left open as well. So the offending monkey, he slid open the door out onto the balcony, and I sort of, chased him out a little bit. And while he was looking around, laughing at me, his family jumped out of the bathroom window, and one was carrying a baby. So all in all, I think there were 5 in there that night.
Wow.
So that was a bit of a shock. That sobered me up from the bottles of wine.
Isn't there a Beatles song? She came in through the bathroom window?
Something like that, yeah. So, we got a little bit extra service on that trip.
Yeah, those macaques have been a real pain in the butt. They've broken to the tune of about 150 chairs throughout the property.
Yeah, he broke one of ours as well. And I think he took off with half a bottle of champagne, which, I was a bit more disappointed about that.
Oh, dear.
Hey, Bill, I want to talk a little bit about your philosophy with what you do. And I've just got something here. There's someone called Alain de Botton who I follow. He's a Swiss-born British philosopher. And in his The Art of Travel, he comes to the realization on a QE2 cruise that he'd brought himself on holiday and that suitcases aren't the only baggage we bring along with us on holiday. As a result, he says perhaps the best outcome for him on the trip is for me to get away from me. So would that be your philosophy too when you measure the success of your properties, that you help guests get away from themselves?
Well, I'm not sure about measuring success, but clearly my last 2 coffee table books are called Escapism and More Escapism. So I think that answers your question is that, yes, we create escapism.
I didn't realize you had the second book.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah, there's another one came out by Thames and Hudson, published it in January of this year.
Okay, awesome. I need to check it out. Now, let's chat about Vietnam a little bit more, which is where I'm based. And of course, you've spent a lot of time here because you designed 4 stunning properties here over the past decade. I think it's 4, right?
4 for Sun Group, and then we've designed that another M gallery called Yen 2.
Oh, okay.
To the south. Yeah, then that's based on an 11th century Buddhist monastery.
Wow. Okay. I need to check that one out. I've been to 3, Intercon Da Nang, JW Marriott, Phu Quoc, and Capella Hanoi. Unfortunately, I haven't been to Sapa yet, and they're all vastly different. So what challenges did you face, firstly, with pitching your concepts here in Vietnam and then actually getting them completed?
Pitching concepts. I think that at this point in our career, I'm very fortunate in that we don't really have to pitch anything. What we come up with is what we build. So, I don't really have to convince anybody to do any particular things I'm pretty darn lucky in that sense at this point. The inspiration for these various hotels are pretty darn simple. For example, Capella in Hanoi is because it sits around the corner from the Opera House. That was built in 1904. We decided to build a hotel which was built at a similar time that also exemplifies or glorifies rather the people of the opera in 1904. Pretty darn simple concept, and it's quite place oriented.
Yeah, it's awesome. I stayed there recently, and great location up the road from the Opera House, as you said, and you could spend nearly a lifetime there.
Yeah, there's so many details.
Oh, it's amazing.
Something like
I love it.
2,000 individual items, including a collection of 110 19 turn-of-the-century opera binoculars that we found on eBay.
Amazing.
eBay can find anything.
And there's only 47 rooms, so to have that many artifacts in there is incredible.
Yeah, it's very layered.
Now, as I mentioned previously, I've never stayed at Hotel de la Coupole in Sapa.
Right.
Hint, hint. Why will I love it when I do get the chance to stay there?
Well, not sure that you'll love it. How to say, when I design hotels, I don't design them for everybody. But you as you said, you're a massive fan, so you probably will like it, right? So, why do I like it? I think it's, and why do a lot of Vietnamese like it? I think it's because it's very IG friendly. And by that, I've discovered via that particular hotel in Sapa is that bright colors, like the pinks and oranges and such, really work well with photographs. So, if you can have a stunning photograph, of course, that's going to work well with Instagram. So you have a huge following for that hotel on Instagram, which is great.
Yeah, very Instagrammable. Yes, for sure.
Other than that, why is it interesting? It's funny. Once again, it's a very simple idea. Is that the inspiration for that came from shopping in Paris?
Okay.
And Chirita and I were walking down the road in the north part of Paris where the flea markets are, and we walked by the glass window of an antique clothing shop, and what caught my eye was a Vietnamese hat, but on top of that hat was clearly this 1920s red and white polka dot fabric. So someone in the 1920s in France was trying to make a haute couture, a fashion statement out of things tribal from Vietnam. So I rushed in, bought the damn hat, and then that became the catalyst for this entire hotel, because it's based on how the hill tribe people of Vietnam influenced the haute couture of French fashion in the 1920s. Wow. And that's it. And then we just kept going with that, room after room after room, and all the different variations that can happen with that.
That's amazing. It's amazing that you can come up with a hotel just from a non-la, as they're called, as a typical conical hat. That's amazing.
Oh, right. Yeah, the non-la.
I better let you go, but before you do, I've got a suggestion. Now, please excuse my ignorance if this suggestion has already been implemented or trashed by you. Have you considered having some kind of passport for guests who stay at your properties? Because I can imagine having this beautifully designed document that resembles a passport, and each time we check in at one of your properties, we get it stamped. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea. I think that's a super idea. We should do that.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, very good. You get 1 point for today on good idea.
All right, cool. I'll look for one in the mail.
There you go.
Awesome. Bill, thank you so much for your time. It's an absolute honour to have you on my podcast, and I hope our paths cross sometime in the future at one of your wonderful properties.
Yeah, that would be a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye for now, Matt.
Bye-bye. Cheers.
Cheers, Sam.
And that was the incomparable Bill Bensley, who graciously gave up some of his precious time to chat to me. In fact, I was very lucky to catch him when I did. As you heard, he has a number of projects on the boil at the moment, including that exciting property due to open in the Republic of Congo around Christmas next year. Wouldn't you just love the opportunity to stay there? That would be really something. Still, there are enough properties here in Vietnam, and indeed around the world, designed by Bill to keep you happy until such time. So make sure you check them out. Even if you just head to their websites, you'll get an even greater appreciation of Bill Bensley's immense talent. I hope you enjoyed the interview and that it's given you some travel inspiration and perhaps even some ideas of where you might like to stay during your next trip to Vietnam. Let me know what you thought via the Bureau Asia social media channels at the Bureau Asia and on the website thebureauasia.com. And as always, if you like what you hear, or perhaps even if you don't, give it a share. It all helps my channel grow. And And joining me again this week, as has become usual to wrap up the episode, is the Bureau's content manager, Melanie Kasul. How are you, Mel?
Hi, I'm okay. And you?
Yeah, good. How's your week been?
Just busy, normal stuff. But I did go to a party last Friday.
Yeah, Detour's grand opening out here in District 7.
Yep.
How was it? What do you think of it?
Oh, it was good. Look, it's right here where we live, out here in the suburb in Tan Phong Ward, Phu Hong District 7. So it's really good. It started a little bit late, I think, because people were coming in from the city, District 1, District 2, or wherever they are.
Well,
but
you got there early.
we were there very early.
Yeah, what was that, by the way?
Because they had the aperitivo.
Okay. All right, so what, happy hour?
Well, no. They started handing out the menu that was there for the night. Eggs mimosa.
So what
that
time
was really
did it
good.
actually start?
6:30.
6:30?
Yeah.
And what time did we get there?
About 5? Okay, 4:45.
I think it was 4:30.
Okay. we quietly walked in. Yeah.
Yeah, we were
Okay.
they're a little bit early, but the mimosas were good, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
Yep.
They had a few, what do you call those things that the waiters,
Hors d'oeuvres
serve?
or something
Hors d'oeuvres
like
maybe,
that.
yeah.
Something French.
Well, yeah, they had a French onion soup tartine.
So
Very
what I want to
French.
ask you is, where is it exactly?
So
Just in case anyone's listening who wants to go.
it's on a corner near Nguyen Van Linh. That's
Okay,
a really
all right,
long
that narrows
boulevard.
it
Yeah.
Down a little bit.
Okay, but it would be around the area where before.
This is what happens. So
Before Crescent Mall.
anyone who's been to Saigon or
Okay,
lives in Saigon will get this.
If you're driving,
This is how we give directions.
if you're driving in from District 1, it's before Crescent Mall. But if you're driving in from the port area in District 4, which also happens to be connected to District 1, it will be after Crescent Mall. But then you have to
Yeah.
go around because it's, one-way
Yeah,
street.
basically it's a block off Nguyen Van Linh, really. But I think just go to their Facebook page and check out their map.
Look out for this really cute corner building that's blue and white, little bit maize yellow, some terracotta.
Sort of creamy. Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it? It's a nice
it's
feel.
supposed to give you a feel of the summer season in the south of France.
Right.
Yeah, so that's really good.
So it reminded you of your trip to the south of France?
No, maybe just watching movies.
Like the movies. The movies. So what was on the menu?
On the menu, as we said, there were some nibblies going around at the start, and then the sharing plates were really good. There was too many for me to remember, but I think I'll just give out some of the ones that really stuck to me.
Yep.
So I really liked the roasted eggplant, and there was the octopus. There was a gnocchi. I think they call it the pote marron gnocchi.
Okay.
It had like these also shaved white mushrooms on top of it. It's really good. Of course, it's a French restaurant. You got to have the duck magret. And you like the truffle. They had a truffle PC. PC is like a noodle.
Yeah, I'd never come across it before, but
It's not a spaghetti. It almost feels
it's
more like
to me it looked like udon.
Yeah,
like
that's
a Japanese
it. That's
udon,
right.
but with the sort of the texture and taste of gnocchi.
Yeah.
I hope I'm right there. I hope I'm not offending them, but I've
then-
never really seen it before.
I mean,
but it was tasty.
throughout the night, the guys at Detour were very generous. They had rosé, white, red wine flowing, beer,
Beers.
cocktails. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good night. It was good to catch up with some people as well and make some new friends. So I really enjoyed it.
Congrats to Alex and everyone in Detour. Just to put it out there, we did go to Detour a couple of times before the grand opening. I was kind of surprised that we got invited
Yeah,
because
it was nice. It was a nice gesture.
because I did write, like a not so glowing review the first time.
I guess they appreciated the honesty.
Yeah, and actually,
that's nice.
I did that like 2 weeks into their soft opening.
Yep.
So I'm happy to take everything back and say, come over to District 7 and take a detour.
Nice. good wrap of the evening, Mel. Now, I want to talk about what I got up to on Wednesday. So a few of us in the media, we got a little invite to go over to District 2 firstly. Okay. So I went over
Breaking
to
news.
District
We're going to District 2.
And we took a boat up the Saigon River to the Lady Trieu distillery, which is in Gucci. So, look, as the crow flies, it's about northwest of Saigon, of the city. Okay. And it took us about, 90 minutes, an hour and a half on the boat.
It would have been it's still faster on the boat than on the bus, right?
Probably. Yeah. We haven't been to Gucci for a while, but I remember it was a bit of a trip, just because of the traffic. But as the crow flies, it's not that far. But anyway, we got on the boat and they took us up there. There was about probably 10 of us. Started the little trip off with a gin, a couple of Lady Trieu gins, and hung out with some really cool people and in the media, and that was fun. And then eventually we got there, and it's not too far from the tunnels.
So who did the tour? Who took you on the tour?
The master distiller.
Oh.
Adam Westbrook, yes. So that was good. He took us through the distillery. It's not a big one by any means, but they are producing quite a bit of gin at the moment and they're hoping to ramp up.
Expand.
Yeah, and export overseas as well. And then we went up, so we got to walk around downstairs where all the action happens, and then we went upstairs and we got to try the 5 gins that they now have up for sale that they're distilling out there. And
which one's your favorite?
Well, they've got the 5, as I said. There's a Dalat Flower Bomb, Hoi An Spice Road, Mekong Delta Dry, Sapa Citrus Tea, and what they call the Contemporary, which I've got a bottle here. People listening, you won't be able to see that, obviously.
Nice.
And the Contemporary
looks awesome.
Yeah, it's really nice. And Lady Trieu was let me just put that down, is a notable person in Vietnamese history.
Like
she was a young lady warrior. Yeah,
oh, wow.
She fended off a few Chinese invasions, and they say she died at a fairly young age, about 23, about the age of the young ladies that were on the boat the other day as well. They also have Miss Hien. She's the distiller who is training under Adam.
Wow.
And they believe that she is Southeast Asia's only female distiller and quite possibly in Asia.
Wow, slow clap right there. Go,
and she's a great young lady, very knowledgeable, of course, and really good to talk to. So real breath of fresh air. And I love these sort of trips. I love getting on a boat and going up the Saigon River.
But then after the distillery, you also went into town,
Yeah, so
right?
we had to turn the boat around and it was another hour and a half trip back into town. So
District 1 or 2?
District 1. It was dark by then and we pulled up just there at Bac Dang
Pier.
Yep. And then we just walked over to Mukti Boy Street they were launching the Trieu Institute. So
restaurant.
It's a bar. Let me get this right. Restaurant downstairs and bar upstairs, featuring all of the Lady Trieu gins.
Wow.
And also some great dishes as well that they pair with their gin. So, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place. They beautiful colours, purples and
greens,
lots
reds.
of floral to go with their branding and the type of botanicals. So they're going, just to give you a tip, Mel, they're planning on making this a regular tour.
Oh,
They haven't actually got it sorted yet.
That's really good.
Keep an eye out on the video channel. I'm also doing a video as well. The video hopefully will be out midweek this week. So I managed in between all the gins and carry on and that to actually film some stuff, and the video's coming up okay, so that's pretty cool. And it'll feature most of the boat trip and the distillery, but also a little bit of the institute.
Okay, and you're going to talk to Adam as well, right?
And there's a little piece there talking to Adam as well, which is cool. He gave me a little bit of time. He's very busy at the moment as they sort of launch all these new gins.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so make sure you keep an eye out on the Bureau channels. I'll let you know when this trip is up and running for real.
For the public.
And so you can book it and stuff like that. They're also planning on perhaps including it in other trips, tacking it onto other trips. So maybe you might want to go out to the shooting range, the Coochie tunnels, and then go and do a quick distillery tour, which is pretty cool. So thanks to the guys at Lady Trieu. That was a fantastic trip. Thank you for the opportunity. I really want to do it again, actually. I'll just wait for the hangover to subside. Now, before we wrap this up, Mel, you're off to Hanoi this week.
Yes,
Any plans
I am.
in particular?
Oh, I just want to eat local and, I know it's so cliche, but just be a tourist, Go to the Buncha Obama, go to the oldest Chakalavong place. Don't judge me.
Okay, sounds cool. All right, well, enjoy it, Mel. I hope you've left plenty in the fridge for me.
Let's see.
Oh, God. All right, take care. Thanks, Mel.
Bye, guys.
Well, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to let me know your thoughts about it by answering the question and commenting at the bottom of the page if you're listening on Spotify. If not, head to the website thebureauasia.com where you'll find this episode, or go to Facebook at The Bureau Asia. But hey, be nice. Be sure to listen to the next episode when I interview famed Vietnamese filmmaker and musician Lê Tan Sơn, who brought us the delightful rom-com Em Chua Mui Tam, among other classic Vietnamese films of our time. So that'll be a good one. Don't miss it. Until then, take care and be safe. This is Matt Cowan. Enjoy your week.